Okay, I think we can start. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. And welcome back to the Institute of Mathematics webinar series. So to the people here on Zoom and on YouTube, welcome. Welcome. Yes, we are also streaming live on YouTube. The link is found. Is it already posted on the Institute's official Facebook page? I'll also type it here in the chat box. Yes. Okay, so I would also like to remind everyone that this session is being recorded. Okay, I'll record it now. And the YouTube live stream will be available even after today to those who have the link. So to those who are here on Zoom, please take note that you are all on automatic mute. So just please raise your hand if you wish to say something so we can unmute you. And you may also write your comments or questions in the chat box there on your, on the right or below, I think, I don't know, depending on how you're viewing Zoom. Okay, so let's start. Again, good afternoon. I am Gino Angelo Velasco, and I will be your moderator for this week's webinar. So as it was mentioned 2 weeks ago in our kickoff webinar, 2020 marks the 110th year of the establishment of the Department of Mathematics. In addition, this week also marks our 13th year as an institute. So, teenager na si IMath. And the talks for today will be a bit more historical. So we are joined by our institute director, Ma'am Carlene, and 3 former heads. They will be giving us a look into the institute during their time when they were directors or chairpersons. Okay, so we shall start with Professor Ernie Lope. He served as department chairman from 2005 to the transition of the department into an institute in 2007. Okay, so let us welcome, let's hear it for Sir Ernie.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this installment of the Institute of Mathematics webinar series. This afternoon, I'm going to talk about the period leading to the establishment of the Institute of Mathematics, hence the title of this presentation. The adjective busy was a late addition to the title, and that was after I had finished going through emails from May 2005 until September 2007. Towards the end of April 2005, there was a short meeting in Nice, France, before the implementation of IMath's program. And as the incoming chair of the department, I was there together with Professor Mitos Navarro, the project lead on the Philippine side. Here is a picture from that meeting. Professors Mark and Francine Dioner are in the picture, and so is Professor Laurent Dumas, one of the IMath's professors. Here is Dr. Adrian Valdez, who was doing his PhD in Paris at that time. It was after this meeting, upon my return to the country, that I started my term as chair. In this presentation, I'd like to highlight 5 major activities or projects that kept the department busy during its pre-institute years. The first one, of course, was the IMath's program, which began in June 2005. IMAMIS is short for International Master in Applied Mathematics and Information Sciences, a three-year project aimed to enhance UP Diliman's capability of producing applied mathematicians and computer scientists to meet the demands of the industry. The planning for this project took over 2 years under the chairmanship of Dr. Rick Del Rosario, the previous chair, and made possible through the initiative and hard work of Professor Mitos Navarro. Through the project, the department hosted quite a number of European experts, and here are some of them, who partnered with UP professors to design and deliver 15 graduate courses from mathematical finance, stochastic calculus, to advanced numerical methods and data visualization. Thank you to all those who agreed, at the gentle prodding of Professor Navarro, to host the visitors, and in many instances even ventured out of their comfort zones to study and teach a subject from a different area of specialization. Throughout the duration of the IMAMIS program, Professor Navarro and I also spent some time to entertain our guests, and we became frequent visitors of Intramuros and Taal. When these became all too familiar, we ventured to the towns of Rizal for the artworks and the petroglyphs. The Filipino partners also had a chance to visit their European counterparts for a month. Kayan and I were in Parisis. Ray and Joma were in Nice. Here is a photo of all of us after a meeting in Paris days before our trip home. And there were side visits too. This was one of them, thanks to Professor Doina Chorenescu. The second big activity was the comprehensive review and revision of our graduate program offerings, partly a byproduct of the IMAMIS program. This was also the natural continuation of the revision of the BS Math program, which was completed during the term of Dr. Rick Del Rosario. Unfortunately, I could not find photos of the meetings we had, and so here are photos of us during a workshop to revise the BS Math program. As perhaps was the case in many other mathematics departments, there used to be a big gap between the pure and applied mathematics programs of the Institute. And this gap somehow extended even to the personalities behind these programs. It came to the point that those doing research in applied mathematics got the impression that they were second-class citizens even of their own unit, and that was totally unacceptable. Thanks to this upgrade, the MS Mathematics program students now have the necessary background to proceed to the PhD Mathematics program. This is a portion of the proposed curricular revision that incorporated the inputs of the CS Assembly. As part of this overhaul, the MA Mathematics program was significantly strengthened. The graduate committee further decided that actuarial science, which was a specialization in the old MS Applied Mathematics program, deserved a program of its own. We thus became, as far as I know, the very first unit in the whole UP system to offer a professional master's program in applied mathematics. Here is a portion of the UP Gazette reporting the BOR's approval of our proposal to institute the Professional Masters in Applied Mathematics Actuarial Science program. The third that I wish to highlight is not really one big activity, but a series of activities, seminars, and scientific meetings. During the term of Dr. Del Rosario, we revived the almost weekly seminars to spur the faculty's interest in research. In fact, a few months before I took office, we held a 2-week workshop in applied mathematics, which featured lectures offered by visiting professors on topics such as advanced numerical methods, mathematical modeling, and its applications in physiology and medicine. In the 2 years that followed, the department had organized a Simpa School in Pseudo-Random Sequences, a seminar in celebration of Professor Nuki's 60th birthday. Another workshop featuring lecturers from Austria, the United States, and Japan, and a symposium in honor of Professor Evelyn Tan. In addition to these, there were two research schools organized through the IMAMIS program, one in numerical methods for PDEs, held at the Ateneo, and another in mathematical finance, held in Hanoi, Vietnam. Faculty members actively took part in both schools. The fourth activity that preoccupied us was the completion of the accomplishment report for the period June 2001 to April 2005. I believe that only by knowing exactly where we stood with respect to our goals could we effectively move forward. Work on this comprehensive report actually began around September 2004 during the term of Dr. Del Rosario, but the report itself was completed only in August 2005. There was this prevailing impression at that time that the unit was primarily a teaching unit. So I was more than happy to submit the completed report to then College of Science Dean Rodora Azanza. And in my cover letter, I wrote, "The department has become more and more involved in research. This does not mean, however, that we have neglected our teaching duties. Note that our faculty members have been recipients of Gawad Chancellor Awards for teaching as well." And for the curious, these were the Gawad Chancellor Awards that I was referring to. Now, if this wasn't a harvest, I don't know what is. The compilation of our accomplishments proved to be a timely endeavor for the whole unit, for there was a round of promotions for faculty and staff that year. Shown here was how we fared compared to the other institutes within the college. 300 points were needed to move up 3 steps, 600 points for 4 steps. Not only that, we also had to apply for the renewal of our CHED Center of Excellence status, which naturally required a huge amount of data from the applying unit. But of course, we retained our COE status. The fifth and final highlight was our bid to become an institute in the College of Science. During the UPCAT weekend of August 2005, I convened the tenured members of the faculty to talk about very important matters: faculty development, academic programs, and future direction of the unit. These three big concerns were discussed in three separate sessions of the meeting. Here are excerpts of the minutes of the second session, courtesy of Dr. Noli Reyes. The tenured faculty gave their opinions on our bid to become an institute. Dr. Tan spoke, Dr. Balmaceda, Dr. Navarro, and others. The session was punctuated by the million-dollar question from Dr. Evelyn Tan. Were there any objections? There were none. The College Executive Board applauded the decision of the tenured faculty, and by December 2005, the Institute proposal was favorably endorsed by Dean Azanza to then UP Diliman Chancellor Sergio Cao. But the ride had not been smooth from there. For almost a year, the proposal underwent several revisions. I was already on version 18 by November 2006. Further revisions were done during the first half of 2007. The Chinese say that August is Ghost Month, but perhaps the ghost had other plans that year, for during the first week of August 2007, I learned that the Chancellor had finally endorsed our proposal. The BOR approval came swiftly afterwards. With the establishment of the Institute of Mathematics, I thought it was already time for me to go back to active research, and I was looking forward to starting my own family. I requested Dean Saloma to appoint Dr. Balmaceda as officer in charge effective October 2017. and I was thankful that he agreed to cut short his sabbatical by a month to be the OIC. He was also the unit's lone nominee for the position of director and was officially appointed shortly thereafter. I'd like to end this presentation by acknowledging the members of my team. The initial team was composed of Dr. Nable, the lone assistant chair, also in charge of undergraduate affairs and service courses, and Doctors Balmaceda, Ray, and Adorna, the three coordinators for graduate programs and research, administration and extension, and computer systems, respectively. The three coordinators all served without any honoraria nor allowances, only administrative load credits. Dr. Nable was succeeded by Dr. Pasion and later by Dr. Ibarra. There were movements among the coordinators too. Again, thank you everyone. And this ends my talk. Thank you, Gino, for organizing this webinar series, and thank you everyone for listening. Good afternoon.
Yes. Thank you very much, Sir Ernie.
Salamat din.
Yes. So now I would like to ask, are there any questions from regarding Sir Ernie's talk? Maybe anyone here who would like to share their experiences during that time as well. I was just a master's student that time, and around 2007, I was just about to go on study leave for my doctorate. Anyone po would like to share? So that was the time when we transitioned from being a department to being an institute. So we will now listen to Professor Jose Maria Balmaceda. He served as the institute director from 2007 to 2011. Okay, so let us welcome Sir Joey.
Thank you.
Good afternoon po.
Gino, I will share my screen, correct?
Apo, sir. Sure. Yes po.
Ano ba ito? Share screen. Bakit hindi ko siya nakikita? Okay. Hindi ko siya nakikita. Sorry ah. Can you see my screen? Hello, Gino.
White screen po siya, sir.
Okay.
Hindi ko po alam, sir, kung ito po yung whiteboard or...
Can you see it? Not yet.
Sir, white lang po.
Din, plain white pa lang, blank.
Anong dapat kong gawin?
Blank. Whiteboard po ata ito, sir, na siya. Hindi ko po alam. Or, so, press po yung share screen dun sa...
Sabi, you are now sharing. Stop share.
Apo.
Okay. I will
It
share.
says we're looking at your screen na, Din.
Ay, ganun. Can you see it now?
Nawala na po ulit, sir. Try niyo po
Okay,
ulit.
ito na yata. Okay na yata. Okay na ba?
Okay, sir.
Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
I will make it full screen. Okay? Is it better?
Yes. Okay po, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Gino, and sorry for the slight delay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. And I'm happy
Okay,
to
sir.
join your the webinar. The 13th is certainly 13 is always an interesting number, and 13 years have gone by quite fast because I remember really much of what Ernie just talked about. I also know that when one talks about history, one cannot really compartmentalize it into boxes like his term, my term, Marian's term, because every event, every activity has an impact on the next. And the story for Institute really goes back many years before us. So I want to talk about what happened during the next 4 years after the BOR finally approved our proposal to transform into an institute. Okay. Now, why is it not moving? I'm using a different laptop, sorry. Ano ba to? Ganito lang kaya. Paano ba? Sorry. Why can't I, sorry, if I go to full screen, hindi ako maka-move forward. Ano ba yun? Slideshow, full screen. Okay, Anna. So, well, let me start with my, can you see it, Gino? Hello? Gino?
Yes, kita po, sir. Yes.
Okay. So first, let me start with my title, Making Substance Meet Form. What do I mean by that? Well, ayan, sorry, hindi nagkako na. Maybe I should, it doesn't. When I'm on full screen like this, the forward keys don't work. Ayan, okay. I don't know why. Sorry. But what do I mean? When the BUR approved our charter, it was a product of something we thought about. We wrote down our vision, our mission, and our mandate was approved. And the vision, mission, goals in a short way was really the pursuit of excellence. So all the good words were there, and it provided us the form for what an institute should be. What I mean now is that we had to put substance to this form, and that would be much of what we would be doing for the next 4 years, putting substance into this nice, ideal form. Ayan na naman. Sorry. I don't know. It doesn't. Okay, baka mabagal. Ganun ba yun? But, yeah, I think it's just slow because it went back 2 slides forward.
Sir, nag-auto po ata siya.
Ganun ba? Ay,
Dahil
sorry.
naka-play po. Apo. I-pause niyo po, sir, tapos yung
Okay. Ngayon, full screen. Tapos, ayan. Okay, maybe it's... But how do you put substance? You cannot expect results immediately. I thought then and now, still now, that a culture, there is a kind of culture that's very important to be able to arrive at results. And what is that proper academic culture? I think this is a culture first that must be shared by everybody and where everybody works together towards that vision. I hope then and up to now that our institute will develop a culture that places the intellectual life in the center, the intellectual life characterized by a passion for scholarship, a culture that rewards merit, hard work, and productivity. And this type of environment is fostered when the individuals possess certain values and practice them. And what are these values? Values such as professionalism, respect and fairness, academic integrity, accountability, and always compassion. I think those are values that have guided me and many of us. And once those are ingrained in us, I think it will be easier to achieve results. Okay? Ayun na naman. Ano ba to? Sorry, I don't know why it does that.
Problem, sir.
After moving it, parang I have to always. Ay, sorry. Ano ba to? Eh kung scroll na lang.
Sir.
Okay. So, how would I characterize our 4 years from 2007 to 2011? I think not just in the math, but in the whole college, there was an unprecedented infrastructure build up, buildings, constructions, improvements. And then there was a focus really on standards and scholarship. In our department, in our institute, I could say that there was a steady improvement in research and publications. And we paid importance to matters, continuing matters such as curricular change, development of instructional materials. It was also during that time that I think faculty development was really strengthened. So many people were going out for studies. We were lucky that the administration allowed us to let them go on leaves for their graduate studies, especially for the PhDs. And as usual, a lot of achievers, a lot of activities that kept us busy for 4 years. And to top it all, from 2007, we were looking forward to 2010, the supposed end of my first term, and the year that marked the centenary of mathematics in UP Diliman. The transformation of the institute brought about new structures and processes. There were new terms like executive council, academic groups. There were new positions for deputy directors. I was lucky that I had very competent deputies and people who helped me, not just the ones with position. You see in the picture Ernie, Isa, and Joma. They were, for most part, my deputy directors, but Chucky Balbuena was also the deputy director for facilities and resources during the first year, while Ernie was on sabbatical. So the first few weeks and months and faculty meetings were spent talking about these new things. What is an executive council? What do instructors need to do? What were these academic groups? We needed to communicate. We needed to talk about these things. Started doing that with an improved new IMath website. I think this was in the works even before me. But a good website is always useful. And a website is always developed, always improved, even up to this day. I thought that starting the first term would be good by holding a faculty workshop. We prepared for this workshop in Antipolo. Even before going there, our main objective was really to assess ourselves as an institute, as a unit, as an organization. Where were we? Where can we improve? What were our strengths and weaknesses? We wanted this to be a qualitative assessment, not a checklist of things that one possesses. And we wanted everyone, especially our young faculty, to talk about these things. Of course, every workshop has periods for fun and bonding, good food. So year is the faculty in 2008. At that time, I was not yet the oldest. You can see easily Professor Onesto Nuki on the right, and the oldest, the most senior faculty member then was Dr. Milagros Navarro, who was already due to retire, but because she was teaching, was extended for another semester. How about this infrastructure buildup? I think if you were around at that time, then you might have remembered how the National Science Complex, which was really established only in 2007, I think, uh, looked like. It only had the math building, the marine science NIGS, and the library and the dean's office. So year or two aerial photos, Google satellite photos of the science complex. On the left, you see the math building, and at 2007, you already see this shape, which was going to be the new math building annex. It was there for many years, just going up very slowly, first floor to second floor. And then that was it for many years. But 3 years later, you see math building here, now with a roof. You see a new road network, the newest one, and really essentially the only new road network in UP Diliman up to this time. Never mind what they call the roads in the engineering complex. You will see half of the chem building. You will see all these old buildings in the bio area now demolished to give way to the new bio building. Physics building going from one building in 2007 to now 3. Here is again an aerial view. Drones were not yet very popular then. And our faculty members like Dr. Pilar-Arceo and of NIGS and Dr. Gil Jacinto on 2 separate occasions rode helicopters to take these nice aerial views. This picture on the left, I always say that the buildings look like a plus minus sign for mathematics in the same way that the chemistry building would turn out to be benzene rings and the bio building would be like a DNA or some helical structure. Okay? Going towards 2010, our building was almost complete. From something that was really rough a year ago, it now had a nice pebble wash. Of course, the inside was a different story. There were still many improvements to be done, air conditioners, furniture. The last phase, the hardest phase of this construction period was really the finishing. This company, Lucky Star, and I think we weren't so lucky with them, won the winning bid for the amount of 8.9 pesos to finish the building. And eventually, the building got finished towards 2011 when our students would use the new facilities. The 4 years from 2007 to 11 really also marked a focus on standards and scholarships. And maybe this was the atmosphere at that time, considering that our dean was Cesar Saloma, the revered professor of physics who was producing at that time easily 15 to 20 ISI papers. He became dean from June 2006 to February 2011 and then chancellor. It was during this time that these rules that you are now very familiar with were approved. Instructors had a maximum of 8 years to obtain a PhD. And if you go back to that time, Cesar wanted 7 years, but the Institute of Mathematics argued and successfully to make it 8 years. Minimum requirements for ranks were clarified, and more importantly now, there was a maximum period for temporary appointment. Before that time, you could be renewed and wait for your tenure for 20 years, but the university didn't want that, and neither did the CS. And so that was when we started putting some maximum number of years for an assistant to get tenure, for an associate to get tenure, for a professor hired laterally to get tenure. Along with it came a revised point system. And again, Cesar's influence resulted in very high points for mentorship, particularly PhD mentorship. Dr. Salom argued that the faculty was already producing in ISI. 20 years ago, they weren't. But because we gave a lot of incentives, a lot of points for ISI publications, the effects were now being seen. And that was what he hoped for with this increase in points for PhD mentorship. The people would be producing because our records show that we are underperforming at the PhD level. For the master's, mathematics, for instance, has been producing a lot of MS graduates, but for PhD, we have not been so good. Okay, not math alone, but the whole College of Science. It was also time to continue with looking at our academic programs and giving support to carry out our research and instructional projects. The 2006 revisions of our graduate programs was still too early to be reviewed, but our undergrad program was revised. What we teach now for our business students, or well, what we used to teach for our business students up to this time, Math 102, was instituted at that time. And what students now toil on, their undergraduate thesis, was now a thesis. Previously, it was a research paper. It was not just more than a change in name, but really a change in focus to give importance to research. It was also during that time that I thought it was important for the Institute to carry out institutional projects, not just individual research projects, but also projects that would involve the whole Institute. And we started by applying because we were we are a center of excellence for a project in writing textbooks. We wrote 6 textbooks. I actually saw the manuscripts. I'm still hoping that they will really be published. I know that the linear algebra textbook is being used in Math 110.2, but there are also textbooks for these. The PDU book of to be written by Marian eventually became a book printed by World Scientific along with Professors Doina Shorenesco and Patricia Donato. We also got, mathematics is not a favorite when it comes to doling out research projects. And the 630,000 that we got from CHED was enough to give some small honorarium to project leaders. So 12 projects. There was a second approval, a second tranche of another 12 projects. But CHED has problems. Projects get approved, but funds are never released. And I think that's what happened to that second phase. We were also preparing now with the new building with its 2 huge audiovisual rooms. We thought that the large class format would be suitable. And to do that, we had to prepare and talk about the mechanics, the logistics, and we had to prepare for our materials. So we were able to get, again, funding for the Institute to write module slides for the service courses. This continuing improvement is done to this day. We keep on revising, and that is important. And we are happy that the administration has continued supporting us. As far as numbers go, our publications were going up. If you compare it maybe now, those will look very few. But the trend was, guys, they were more and more were producing papers, some even with their students. Our PhD graduates were almost constant. Even today, 4 is a good number. But with a lot of PhDs, I think Dr. Saloma is correct when he says we should be doing much more. Our MS graduates, even at that time, were a good number already. I think our numbers today are even better, much better. If you were a young instructor during that period, at some point, you were probably on leave to do your PhD. And that was a time when a lot of our faculty went on leaves, not all together, but really many of them from 2007 to 11, and even afterwards. And we see the results now. I took a look at the PhDs who were around in 2007. Have even some already left when I became director. This is a little bit of a jest. Rick Del Rosario, of course, went abroad to work in a research agency, but also to join his wife, Christy Alejandro, joined her husband. Yoshi Takenouchi joined his wife. Anne Passion joined her husband. But I'm sure they were doing other things, going to do other things. It was many people left, and even Ernie didn't mention it, but in 2006, I think 8 PhDs left our department. I was complaining, talking about our problems to Dr. Esther Garcia of CHED, asking her how to solve the exit of so many PhDs. She told me, you just have to work harder and find more, graduate more PhDs. And true enough, for the 7 or so many who left, and even the ones before that, during those 4 years, you can count from either graduating in the department or from foreign universities or from lateral hires. We had all these people, Marik, Michelle, Richel, Cheryl Talawe. Some of them have left, Laarni de la Cruz, Lani, Walo, Diana, Vivian Visayas stayed for about a year and a half. But the point is that we were now in a position not only to produce more students, but also to recruit from outside. Because that speaks something about our faculty. Our faculty is a young faculty. When I entered as director, there was even a 19-year-old instructor, and that was Ren Mendoza, who joined the department in the second semester. The other end is Dr. Navarro, who was already 65 but was going to finish the semester. But you can see the histogram. So many young people. The median would be year. And somewhere here would be people like me would soon move even further right. At that time, faculty members, we could let 10 to 15 faculty members go on leave with pay. That was a good number. Also because we had a huge base, 80 plus faculty members. And the university would allow maybe 15%, 15 probably not, maybe 12 at a time. But we could sometimes argue for more. And our instructors were bright. They were able to get scholarships from foreign governments or universities, or UP itself would fund their studies. It was also time to, sorry, I don't know what happened, to strengthen our networks. Ernie talked about the Imamis program, and the Erasmus Mundus Mobility with Asia program was in some sense an offshoot of Imamis because many of the coordinators there were the people involved in Imamis. And here, they expanded it so that it really became a consortium of European universities and Asian universities. And UP was integral to that consortium. Through the years, we were able to send not just people from the institute, but also from the rest of UP and also the country to study abroad, go on postdocs, do research visits. I'll show you the faculty members who were around in 2008, and I'll start with the two on top. This is Maki Makasiev and Jolly Daton. They joined in 2008. They're not with us anymore. Maki passed away from illness a year and a half later, and Jolly some more years later. Ito yung mga faculty member, yung iba dyan, hindi ko alam, parang photogenic masyado. But some of them were around, they just wanted to show your faces. So that's 2008. Let's go to 2009. Vivian Visaya already had a PhD and we hired her back. But the young people, many of them are still with us. many with PhDs, some have left. That always happens. And then 2010, the last year that we hired when I was still director. Meron siya extra pero ganyan itsura ng instructor. Ao de los Reyes also had a PhD in 2010 when he was hired by the faculty. Okay. Of course, we had some retirees during the 4 years, starting with Dr. Navarro, Dr. Constante Torrachante, and then later on, Professor Ernesto Nuki and Dr. Evelyn Tan. Bong Nuki was older than a year, but he got extended, so they retired around the same time. I show this now because if you remember the 2000 graph, you would see that we were still a young faculty. So many people between the ages of 20 to 25. That's 36, I think, out of 82. The median was here. But things change, and they change sometimes for the good. Young people who stay in the department become older, and that is good because when they stay, that means they're doing good work, earning their big degrees, and wishing to lead a life inside the institute. I'll just show you what it is right now, 2020. The median has changed. We are now a bit older. Also because we hire more at the master's and PhD level, not so many fresh graduates. And many of those young instructors now are doing their PhDs. So this is a good sign. We will have our share of achievers, and I start with Noli Reyes. We all miss him. I show here a photo taken in 2009 because Noli was one of the last holdouts on the LCD. Hindi siya nagdi-beamer. He was using transparencies and acetates. I know that he did soon after, but here's a picture of a conference in Antipolo with Noli with the LCD. Agnes was an invited speaker. There are only a few invited speakers to this huge conference, the Asian Mathematical Conference. And he was also the 2008 National Research Council of the Philippines Achievement Awardee. Guido David. Guido David was an outstanding young scientist of the NAST in 2010. Same year, Richelle got an award for her paper published in a local journal. This is a page I devote to Julius Basilia because I love Julius, like we all do. But really, Julius at that time got the Outstanding Young Scientist Award, but he was also two times a deputy leader of the International Math Olympic team of the Philippines and then the team leader. And I show these photos because here you see Paco Adahar, Jeffrey Go, Russell Guadalupe, who were members of the team and who eventually joined our faculty. Fidel was MSc president and became the SEAMS president in 2010-2011. Our students were also excelling. 3 summa cum laudes with the titas of Diliman with them. G-Ben would deliver the graduation speech. That was in 2009, and then John Pelias and I should remember her name, but coming in a third. I show here a picture of someone you might not know. His name is Francisco Nadella. He graduated from our institute at the age of 75. He's a surveyor, a geodetic engineer, and after retirement, his passion was in flying drones. This picture here of the National Science Complex taken a few years after my term, around 2012-13, is not an aerial or a satellite photo. It is stitched from hundreds of pictures taken by a drone flying above the whole area. The college um, asked him to be the speaker for our graduation recognition programs. I show here other things that kept us busy. Math Society of the Philippines, these are not really, these are professional endeavors, but we are professionals. And I think it was good for all of us to participate in the MSP. Not only do you meet fellow mathematicians from all over the country and even foreign mathematicians, but it is a time to bond, to work together, to enjoy together outside the classroom. And we, at that time and continuing to today, we really encourage everyone, a lot of faculty members to join. UP always had the biggest number, and that was always something to be happy about. Cebu, this is Marian, the oblation, because UP was, MSP was held in Diliman. This was in Cebu. You see some fresh graduates, some young graduates, some young faculty, and also a time for enjoyment during conferences. I showed you the Asian Math Conference where Atkins was a speaker. That was in 2009. A simple research school like the ones Ernie described earlier. This was on semi-definite programming and algebraic combinatorics. The Sinophil Symposium in Mathematics, which was held since 1994 every 2 years with venues alternating between Taiwan and the Philippines. It was really an affair of the analysts, but at that time I was the director and I said, why don't we have algebraists included? So algebra people were part of that conference in 2009 and even after that. Locally, we were having summer camps teaching our USC scholars and our high school students in activities like this. I think the highlight, of course, of my term, my first term, was the centenary. There was a build-up the whole of 2010, and there was a grand parade which was held on the foundation day of UP because mathematics, chemistry, and biology were celebrating 100 years in the campus. So 2010 was the UP Math Centennial Year. And what more than a change in logo? Our logo, we use this, let me say, copied. I also mean plagiarized, baka. But this was patterned after the old symbols for addition, division, multiplication. It was time for this. A contest was held. This was winning entry. Sa totoo lang, si Marian at ako. But Kenneth De La Rosa rendered the nice Photoshop picture of this logo. We still have to, we can think about it. Still want the colors a bit different, but anyway, the picture is that of 3 lines on the hyperbolic disk model meeting in the ideal line, meeting at a point, representing the unity of our functions of teaching, research, and service. Our parade was attended by the chancellor, by Dr. Perez, who was vice chancellor, former math professors. And not only faculty members, but students joined the parade along the oval. At the end of 3 years, it was time for another workshop and time not just to talk about the next few years, but to talk about the next 100 years. That's how far we can project into the future. Here's a picture for family excited about the whole centennial idea of 100. 100 has always been a good number, especially to us teachers. We had a grand alumni homecoming. Participants came from many batches. I show you a picture of the faculty. And the whole celebration was capped by the Centennial Conference, a 2-day affair where we invited our friends, mathematician friends, and we asked our graduates and our faculty members to speak. It was a time to showcase our new PhDs. Everyone who had a new PhD then was asked to talk, was invited to give a talk. Mancho was a new PhD. He finished, he came back 2011 missing the Centennial Conference, but I had to put his picture in to show that he was part of those who got their doctorates during the same period. Here's the conference group pictures. We had poster sessions. And of course, Father Nebres was a guest, a very important speaker. We had a good reception at the executive house. And we wanted to hold this in 2010, but eventually it was held in 2011. And this was important because this was the first time SEAMS, the Southeast Asian Math Society, organized a school like this, much like a SIMPA research school at a maybe slightly less advanced level. And this continues to this day. Gino would have had one and his group, a SEAM school, except for the pandemic. And we hope to have to see that school next year. To celebrate our centennial, I'm an advisor in the Mind Museum, and we got a sponsorship for the integral sign galaxy. See, IMath UP Diliman reached a galaxy. And also, we got an element. We chose I for IMath. Amen. So let me end. I know I went over time as always, but just I think so many things to talk about, so many pictures, so many things I had to leave out. But let me say, I start with the quote. We had many accomplishments during that period, but one should never be comfortable. Sir Michael Atiyah said that only the mediocre are supremely confident of their ability, because the better you are, the higher the standards you set for yourself. I think that's what we should do as an institute. We spent 4 years putting substance into this ideal form, and those 4 years were spent on a positive trajectory and building on the good that we had even before our time. My term ended on May 31, cut short, but buoyed by a high morale, I think, and faith in our institute's capacity. June was time for a next story, a time for a new director. It was also time for me to take on more challenges. So thank you very much. Happy 13th anniversary to all of us. Thank you, Gino, and everyone for organizing this. I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of the presentations of Marian, Roque, and Kai and Pilar. Thank you. Let me stop sharing now.
Thank you very much, Sir Joey. That was a nice trip down memory lane. Actually, it was also nice to see the pictures, especially to those who were on leave during that time or to the new faculty. So thank you very much. Are there questions? Questions on Sir Joey's talk, or if you would like, or anyone would like to share something during that time? Okay, just let us know. Okay, so now let us proceed with our third speaker, Professor Marian Roque. So she's the director of the Institute from 2011 to 2017. So she's here to offer her perspective during her time as director. Welcome, ma'am. Ma'am, unmute po.
Dinig na? Okay. Di kita marinig.
Yep, dinig na. We hear
Okay.
you, Mary.
Kayo ang hindi ko marinig kasi unstable daw ako eh. Sabi ng computer ko. So let me start. This is really a bad time for my computer to have crashed and also my external drive. But good thing there are so many FB photos that I could mine. So in 2011, the chancellor was Dr. Cesar Saloma, who was the former dean, and the dean who had to cut short his term as a director, was now the Dean of the College of Science. So I did not really intend to have an admin position. I wanted an easy life. Hindi kami sanay sa admin position, which actually allowed us to do more. But there was a need, and assuming an admin position is actually additional, is service also to the institute and to the university. So I started with this, with my slide. I think this was my realizing our relevance. So after the substance, everything has been done. Um, and we have to make ourselves relevant. We are relevant. Math is relevant. The institute is relevant to the institute, to the university. It's just realizing that for us to realize our importance, and for others to realize and recognize that importance also. So this is, of course, while keeping our mandate, the teaching, research, extension work, as Joey had explained. This is the three actually unite or intersect for the service to our students, institute, university, and nation. So we realize our relevance through our service, actually. Now, the continuing challenges where yung nakapink, yung immediate, when I assumed office, I wasn't ready, but there was a need because I had to continue what Dr. Balmaceda had started. So we had to complete the math building annex and to get ready for the large class. And also, it wasn't good that it was just there, 90% done or less, thereabouts. It was usable, but there were no air conditions. And with help from the chancellor, we were able to get, yun nga lang, pero good, we did not get the original plan, but we were able to get Everest, na okay naman, di ba? And then we had to rush the instructional materials for Math 17, 53, 54, 55, 100. That's staggered. And now the bigger, that was immediate. And then later on, the bigger academic challenges were the hybrid GE program that was also kind of immediate. And then the new UPGE framework, the calendar shift, and then the K to 12, which had an effect on our GE program, of course, the service courses, and the BS Math curriculum. So in any administration in UP, we need faculty development because to have our programs to be successful in our endeavors, we always have to think of the faculty because they are the building blocks of this university, the workforce, the workhorse. And we had to also be recognized in the national, regional, international math community. That was a continuing challenge because we have the talent, but recognition was not that much. So let me first talk about the implementation of the large class, which was finalized that we will implement them during the term of Dr. Balmaceda, and I had to implement. So planning is easier sometimes than implementing, but there were a lot of pros in implementing this large class format, which proved to be important when UP suddenly had a big enrollment sometime in 2014 or 15. So the infrastructure, as I've said, so we were able to complete the math building annex, and then the instructional materials were finalized, but it was really a work in progress all these years. There were two big workshops, and then there were mini workshops per course. So they all had mini trips outside UP, but some were also in PSED kapag talagang urgent na. So this was, I think, the first IMath workshop. The big one, it was a Math 17 to get ready for the implementation of Math 17 as a large class during the second SEM. So this was in Lake Island Resort. It was a nice resort, but amoy isda. Okay, medyo unstable ah. And then this was a right shop in Momarco. And these are some examples. Galit si Joseph dito, I don't know why. And the people really worked hard during that time. So you could see the laptops, all the discussion, and they had to answer all the exercises and so on for the answer key. And then type agad sa LaTeX. And we had now, then we were ready. So this was the first audiovisual room used, the red room. Although hindi naman yan ang first class, but it was a latter class, but it was more or less ready. And so ready na, Math 17, because it was second sem, it was not in season, it was a smaller class to handle. So we started with the Math 17 and then 53 and so on. So always when we start, it's not in season. So pag naging in season yung Math 17, hindi niya kasabay magla-large class yung iba. So it was an operation problem, but thanks to Dr. Basilia na magaling sa pag-solve ng problem. And then finally, we had the M-band, not really inauguration, but more of blessing, because the staff were complaining about Mumu in the building because it was left unused for a long time. So hindi naman si Marek yung nag-bless, but Marek is here, okay? And then the blue room was also almost ready to be used. And then we had landscaping. So there we have the faculty members looking so mabait with the candles. And Dr. Tan was there, was very supportive of all our projects. And then more infrastructure followed. So the library, we had our own IMath library, and the main the science lab, the books were transferred to the math lab now for the math books, math collection. We had our own librarian and staff, and slowly, through the help also of donors, we were able to, Mac Reyes, we were able to make improvements on the library, and naging tambayan siya at tulugan na ng mga estudyante later on. Then the blue audiovisual room was completed, ready na for the first sem. And then we had the M-band faculty rooms. The furniture were purchased during the Joey's time, but now it was arranging them since may aircon na. And we had the M-band nursery. We call it the nursery because the youngest ones were staying here. Like 10 of them were there, 9 or 10. And we actually have 2 nurseries in the math build, in the math M-band. Then we had more seminar rooms, student tambayan, which was for everyone. And then we had new 3 computer labs. And we had the refurbishing of classrooms in the old math building. We also had a visiting professor room, a ping pong room, and more landscaping. And I started with the 7 bridges of Königsberg Park, which is still unfinished because we had problem with the landscaping, but it's there. The marker is there. You can see the 7 bridges. And we had may problems sa pag-move then. And finally, it became an iconic symbol, the Mathematica sign. So it was a long discussion also whether it will be math, mathematics, IMath. Finally, it's Mathematica. And we have seen a lot of people taking pictures in front of this. So, and later on, we had the Manulife rooms in 2015. So from here to this one, which is now also always used. We had 2 rooms refurbished by Manulife. And okay, for academic, the main problems or the challenges were GE, the service courses, and the new BS Math curriculum. So for the hybrid GE, we had some GE courses required now by UP Diliman. Well, one reason for the hybrid GE was a lot of SUMAS became SUMAS because unowable ang mga GE. So Chancellor Saloma had this reviewed and more GE courses were required. Dati kasi free for all. And then Math 2 was required now for courses with no Math 11 and higher in their degree program and could not be taken by students with required math course kasi ginawa din siyang unowable na math. And Math 1 now, being a math appreciation course, can be taken by all except BS Math students. This was in 2012. 2011 yung start ng mga discussions under Cesar Saloma. And simple guidelines, right? But up to now, we're having problems with the implementation of these simple guidelines. So we have psych majors asking for slots. May mga nahalo pa din. We have to purge. So apparently it's not that simple. And then there was a talk now on the new GE framework because we had to redefine the UP system, proposed a new GE framework. Well, not really proposed, but implemented a new GE framework. It was a long discussion. It started a long time ago. And science, together with engineering and supported by some colleges, proposed a 21-unit GE. So I was in the GE committee that time. It was not a nice moment in the GE committee. And there was a heated, long discussion during the University Council na nanghehekel daw ang mga taga-science that time. We were actually, and I think we were heckling kasi ayaw na makinig ng mga ibang colleges to sa 21. They wanted to retain 42 or even more. But finally, the 21 won. And that was just approved in 2017, I think. So we could only move forward with our final revisions, PS Math curriculum in 2017. But the work started. And we had several mini workshops for the development of the GE course. The system wanted a new course for math. But somehow, since pare-pareho naman yung Math 1 ng lahat ng units, so we somehow united and fought the system and insisted this is our GE Math. It's Math 1, but we now call it Math 10, Math Culture and Society. And we had a nice workshop in Bohol, I think. No, Cebu. And revision of service courses. Okay, the abolition of Math 11, 14, 17. It wasn't a long discussion in our institute, but it wasn't really quite easy for other degree programs like political science, those requiring these courses only, na bakit wala na. Those requiring Math 100, parang they did not want to let go of these courses. And from 553, na 53, 54, 55 calculus series, we made this 444. But we had the new courses 20, which is non-credit for those who need the knowledge for the calculus series, 21, 22, 20. So ito yung mga hindi naka-STEM track or something like that. So, and we had many workshops regarding this. We had workshops in the institute for the revision of the math calculus series. We had to obedize syllabi, modules review, and so on. So this was a workshop by the IMath faculty. But for the revisions of the BS Math program, so this was a group photo. And for the revisions of the BS Math curriculum, this is the summary. So the units from 142 to 138, we had new courses, so 108, foundation. So yung 109 became a 4-unit course because a lot of people said they need more exercise time. And then we had math modeling, discrete math, finance, and introduction to mathematical research or writing. And then we had now the required courses to comply with the SHED guidelines, and 30 units, I think, of GE. So this is the math IMath grad committee workshop, and Dr. Reyes was still there. And he helped us a lot with our analysis courses. So this was the after photo. So okay na, after much discussion. Now for the faculty development, this is the important aspect, always a challenge. So as Joey said, parating in, out, ang dami nag-out. So for the faculty development, since madaming nag-aral and all, so ito na yung time for, it was harvest time during these years. So we have this, sana wala ko nakalimutan, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11 graduates. And somewhere in the sandwich program, UP degree, and others were able to get scholarship abroad, like Romar in Singapore, Jerome in Japan, Rainier and Vicky in Austria, maybe that's where it started, yeah, and then Gina from Austria. Then we also had lateral entries. We had Carmen Amara, who rejoined us in 2012 from Australia, and then we have Christina Corsino and Richard Levense, but Carmen Amara lang ang natira among the three. Now, other highlights, instructors obtained their MS within 3 to 4 years. They were forced to do that at kailangan. So since nakaset na yung standards natin, it was easy now to implement, just checking on them and giving them the support. Tenure was granted to, I think, 4 faculty members. And we had a big promotion in 2014 where we used the Somintak files, which was talagang madugo, but it was worth it. And then more incentives for the faculty, 1 UP Prof chair, research grants, for the new pitch, especially UP scientists, research dissemination grants, and we had postdocs. So several faculty members had postdoc, and some of them through the EMA. So again, harvesting. So the EMA established by Joey. And then because of this, we had an increase in publications and successful mentoring. So publication also, which involves students. And some activities, math workshops. So we had workshops. We were busy with this, the organizers. So I thank all of them for having organized this. We had a crystallography workshop in 2011, and they all had foreign speakers. Research workshop in honor of Dr. Polly W.C. The crystallography workshop was actually in honor of Dr. Felix. Pero ayaw niyang patawag na in honor. Same school in matrix analysis and then on elliptic curves, topics on elliptic curves. We had 2 SIMPA schools in number theory and then in PDEs in 2014. Again, some of this led to collaboration with the lecturers. Then we had several conferences. The 9th Philippine-Taiwan Symposium, which was mentioned by Joey. This was held in Montebello Villa Hotel, Cebu. And then we had international conference on PDEs, which was organized by Ernie Lope. And then we had the discrete math and applications in January 2016, also in UPD. Ba yun? Parang iba, hindi siya UPD. And then the same school. So again, in pictures, so this was the same school in matrix analysis, yung kay kasama si Dr. Paras. And the other one with the Mathematica is the same school in number theory, elliptic curves. Conferences, that was a Sinophil, and then the PDE conference. And Simpa School pala yan, naulit. And we also had for our teachers, kasi getting ready for the capacity, for the calculus teachers, for K-12, we had the capacity building training for calculus teachers. I think this was funded by IMU, yung CDC. And then we had also the math coaches training. And let me add also that UP Diliman was in charge, also our institute was in charge of writing the learning materials for calculus for grade 11. So it was also years of work, and Louis was very much involved with that. And of course, Joey, Chacha, Ernie, and I as reviewers. Di pa kasama dyan yung IMO training and so on. Now, I think after hard work, meron tayong mga recognition awards. Individual, we had outstanding young scientists. So during my time, we had Joseph Pasha, who also resigned na. Richard Limense, Mancho Loquias. Manuel Joseph Loquias. Natatanging guro, I think this was record na we tried to nominate every year, and there were 4 awardees, including myself, Agnes Paras, Ernie Lope, and Joey Balmaceda. And UP scientists, that time, there were 5, Agnes, Dr. Felix, Ernie Lope, myself, and then Richard. And parang ang dami ko ata. NRCP Achievement Award, Fidel Nemenzo in 2012 and myself in 2016. So we were getting the recognition, at least for our individual efforts, but which was also very much supported by our institute, of course. And of course, the renewal of our status as a Center of Excellence. So that's Dean Joey with all the plaques ng science. So ito yung nasa math. Siyempre, hinarap ko siya. And yung iba, highlights na lang in pictures. So we had attendance in conferences. So as I mentioned earlier, yung research dissemination grant, we were already given us the tuition fee for grad students, for undergrad. We had enough MOE, this RDG, FDF, and we were able to send many participants even to international conferences. So we had to take advantage na mas mura din yung pamasahe ngayon. So like in the AMC, I think there were around 20 of us with students also. This was the Asian Math Conference in 2016 in Bali, Indonesia. And then There was the AMC in 2013 in Busan. There was also ICM in 2014 in Seoul. And this was the Sinophil in Taiwan, the 10th one. That was the last one, held in Kaohsiung. And of course, our usual support to the MSP. So every year we send at least 30 participants to convention to support MSP, also to give chance. And now more and more students, undergrad students, are participating because of the calendar shift. We can already fund them. Kasi estudyante pa sila pag nag-MSP convention. And Joy mentioned we had a book launching. I just include this because it was an Imami's and Ched outcome. So it was the book by our book with the Donna Chironescu and Patricia Donato was published. And then we had more visiting professors. Ito yung mga suki na. So Ika Magdalena, the Austrian, Christian Taraveguer, and of course Patricia, who has successfully mentored many of our students between and ALIP specifically. And then Edith from UP Los Baños. Ika has supervised an undergrad and plans to supervise a PhD student. Taraveguer every year lang with the Austrian students. And continued support from Manulife. So that was the MOA signing. And Dr. Balmaceda received, as Dean, receiving the check for math. We also had the first costume party. So ito na yung mga ano lang, wala lang. Costume party natin. And we also had the grad party for the graduates. Okay. So it was the first time we had one. So, and let me end with this. We had during that time, Fibonacci. Sorry, wala akong makitang solo niya. Fibonacci, the IMath rabbit, who left us this year, I think. We have a new one, but sad news, the new one also left us already. So we need a new rabbit. Okay. So Carmen ang nag-aalaga ng rabbits natin. Siya ang nagpapakain. So, and the IMath rabbit became an icon also. Kasama na yan sa stickers ng Animals of UP. So, to end, let me thank our admin staff. Without them, talaga sabi ko, even without the administrators, tatakbo ang institute with the admins because they're the ones who have the knowledge of how to run things in the office, which we need. And of course, the faculty, sila yung strength of our institute. And they are the wind beneath the wings of the Institute of Mathematics. Thank you very much. Sorry kung overtime na.
No problem, ma'am. Maraming salamat po. Thank you. Yes, was nice. Hindi ko pa alam na wala na rin pala yung isang rabbit.
Recent lang, last week yata.
Mm-hmm. So thank you very much. Any question? Questions?
Ay, by the way, add ko rin, yung deputy directors, kasama pala si Fidel Nemenso, one of my first deputy directors. So I thank also all my deputy directors, including Chancellor Nemenso.
Yes, I'd also like to recognize Chancellor Nemenso. I think he's here. Good afternoon, sir. And also Dr. C. Dr. C is also a former chairperson of the Department of Mathematics. And po si Ate Gay, she said, thank you, Dr. Roque. Dr. Ma'am Ate Gay sent a message, so she's here. Hello, Ate Gay. And now let's proceed to our last speaker. We have our director, Professor Carlene Pilar-Arceo. So she has been the director since 2017. Let us hear from Ma'am Kayen. Welcome po.
Gina, I'll share screen now.
Welcome, ma'am.
Okay. You can see? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the wonderful storytelling so far. I would have been okay na mag-overtime pa kayo lahat. Ang sarap makinig. I hope you'll enjoy the continuing story of IMath. I now have the privilege of continuing to tell the story of IMath, this time from 2018. I actually officially became director in 2018, February 1 to be exact. 2 or 3 months before that, I was OIC, coming from the GE Center. At the time that I took on the directorship, we were in a whirlwind of preparations for the academic year 2018-2019. As Marian had described, we were all working on the new curricula. Everyone in Diliman was working on new curricula. There was a set of new math courses we would all be busy with, and then we would all be working on modules for the 20 series. We were also working on here. This is from the GE 2016 approved framework, where it assigned 11 system GE courses, from which Diliman would require 7 of them, what we call the Diliman 21. And we were all involved in Math 10 as well. Math 10 would become, Math 1 would become Math 10, just as the 20 series would replace the 50 series and the 60 series and the 100, the Calculus 100 series. Okay. All of these were happening because we were setting the stage for the arrival of the first batch of senior high school graduates. So it was a very hectic time. People were preparing for these big changes. Just like Marian said earlier, they were in the same manner that there was a lot of rush going into 2017. Now we were all working on the modules for the 20 series. And just like all of us now are rushing our materials this time for the 14-week SEM, the story of our lives, right? But we managed well. So at the same time that we were preparing for the 2018 freshmen, we were also involved in an assortment of faculty development endeavors, because we were encouraged by system then to go on to pursue faculty development, because there would be a glut, there would be a marked decrease in enrollment from 2016 to 2018. And we will be returning to full capacity of enrollment in the academic year 2021-2022 year. So the 15% cap that Dean Joey mentioned earlier on sending faculty on leaves, on academic leaves, was lifted. And from 2016 to the present, we have had many faculty members going on postdoc, going on study leave, going on sabbatical every year. Now, 4 years since that started, we are reaping the fruits of these pursuits. Just like Marian said, that we have been harvesting. We have been greeting many new MS graduates, many new PhD graduates per semester in our faculty. So sila ang ating fresh grads sa faculty natin. Russell, Julie, Vickman returned last year. Joseph finished, Daryl and Alan also recently. And I'm very happy to mention that this coming semester, we are looking forward to maybe as many as 7 prospective PhD graduates, and maybe a dozen by the end of the school year. And I think I saw in the audience one of our new PhDs who just returned from his studies in Taiwan, Dr. Ariel Paningbatan. The first time I will call you Dr. Ariel Paningbatan. Okay, so Dean Joey, this is really an improvement from the 4 graduates we had in when was that, 2011. So with the recently concluded faculty merit promotion as well.
Ma'am, may istorbo ko lang po, ma'am.
Yeah?
Ma'am, may istorbo ko lang po. Ma'am, yung electric fan daw po ata malakas. May nagana po. Ano po siya? Pasensya na po, ma'am.
It's mine.
Po yata, ma'am.
Okay.
Ayan.
Sorry po,
Pasensya na po, ma'am.
sorry. Pero okay naman, naririnig
Ayan,
naman.
okay po, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, ma'am.
All right. So we have new graduates, many coming back, graduate degrees from our faculty, and then we had a recent faculty promotion, no, last year. So we now count in the institute 8 professors, 12 associate professors, 24 assistant professors, and 41 instructors. Many of those whose pictures you saw from Dean Joey and from Marian, who were instructors and PhD students, maybe going on leave and such, they're here already. Many of them have returned as PhDs and are already in the ranks of assistant professors and upward. That's why, as Dean Joey pointed out, umurong na yung ating median age. So counting as well, 2 professors emeriti, Dr. Felix and Dr. C, who became Professor Emeritus in 2018. We're still happy and proud to have them with us. And our 13 lecturers from industry and academia. We are a 100-strong academic unit entering academic year 2020-2021. It's probably the biggest in Diliman, if not the entire UP system. Okay? And like Dean Joey said, we can now look at hiring more faculty at the graduate degree level, no? Mga MS at PhD na. So that may be a potential new infra problem would be a lack of faculty rooms to house our new PhDs. Anyway, aside from implementing the revised curriculum and its revised courses, our faculty have been very active in research. We continue to be very active in research. Every year, at least a dozen colleagues claim centennial faculty grants or professorial chairs. We have more than 12 1UP chair holders. I sign IPA applications fairly regularly. And most, if not all, of our PhDs hold research grants and chairs. And we have several, as Marian mentioned, in our rank who are scientists. We also encourage senior researcher, junior researcher partnership so that the juniors get exposure. And I can guarantee that our juniors have the potential to be very, very prolific researchers and very good mentors. And we reinforce this practice through a reactivation of our academic groups. Here are our 8 academic groups now: coding and number theory, differential equations, discrete geometry and combinatorics, geometry, groups and representation theory, mathematical finance and actuarial science, matrix analysis and linear algebra, modeling and applications, optimization and approximation. And you can see the academic group heads also identified. Every faculty member must belong to one of these groups and may become an affiliate of another one. So we formalized the above groups through a graduate committee workshop held in April last year. Aside from identifying research areas, specializations, activities, programs, the academic groups would play many, many roles in decision-making regarding mentoring setups, course offerings, and graduate program policies. Some of these are long established. And some of the academic groups are actually already holding regular meetings, regular seminars, like 2 come to mind that are very active: number theory and matrix analysis. Some have regrouped and been renamed, like the geometry groups and representation theory group. And some are newly formed, like the modeling and applications group. The groups host visiting professors, they organize conferences, big or small, promoting their areas and creating collaborations. Also revved up during the graduate committee workshop last year was the review and revision of our graduate programs. Dr. Roque mentioned that we had to obedize our syllabi, and well, JOMA would be very happy if we could finally complete that project of obedizing everything from undergrad to especially graduate syllabi. All of these are in line with quality assessment, quality assurance, and self-assessment evaluations, which units in the university have been busy with. Dean Joey has been leading this has been leading us in this exercise and keeping us on the right track. These turns of events and this flurry of activity have motivated the creation of the position coordinator for research, which was approved in November last year by Dean Gani Tapang. The CFR, Coordinator for Research, will assist the Deputy for Academic Programs and Research in looking after the research function of the IMath faculty, so that the DDAPR, the Deputy for Academic Programs and Research, would be able to shift more focus on the academic programs, which have been getting a lot of our attention and energies the past months, if not years. The post also puts our admin offices in consonance with the offices of the College of Science. So this is how our organizational chart now looks. And to put faces to these positions, here is your admin, your set of admin faculty for our term. This is Dr. Jazz Lui for MFAS, Finance. This is Dr. Dima Bayao for Student and Public Affairs. It's Dr. Layson for Service Courses. Manjo, Dr. Loquias is a Deputy for Instruction. Ching, Dr. Celeste is a Deputy for Resources and Facilities. And Joma is a Deputy for Academic Programs and Research. Oh, and for the new post, we have Gino. He's the Coordinator for Research, the first one. And our QA officer, of course, is Dean Joey. Yeah. And here's our admin staff. As Marian said, they're the ones who make sure that things are going well for everyone in the Institute. Okay. Right now, everyone is mostly working from home. That's the norm for now. For now, we go to the office at most twice a week, and we work on a rotational schedule of 2-12. No, it's cyclic, 2-12, meaning we go to the office for 2 days, and then we stay home for 12 days. Okay? So ganun yung ating rotation ngayon. So if you visit the admin office these days, pero magpapaalam muna kayo, if you visit the admin office, you'll be greeted by this door, and you'll see all of these signs telling us what the circumstances really are, the extraordinary circumstances are now. So here on the left, you have a schedule on who will be here when. And then next, you have a bit to the right, towards the center, you have a sheet that says, in this room, only so many people can be there. In the lounge, only so many people. In the offices, only so many people. And then, of course, you have hand sanitizer and a reminder that you're not supposed to use your hand in opening the door, etc., etc. Okay? Well, we know this is temporary, and we will eventually be able to return to the Institute and resume operations on site. Instead of saying there's much that we will be missing. No? You saw the pictures that were shared by Joey and Marian. We do a lot of work, and we have a lot of fun doing it. So talagang nakakamiss to be together, whether in the building or outside. But instead of dwelling on what will be missed, I would rather say that there is much to look forward to. For example, meeting our new freshmen. For the very first time, last week, we just conducted the pre-enlistment, advising, the works, completely online. We can ask Isa, Joma, and Manjo. It must have been quite an experience doing everything online. Joma and Manjo split 60 students each, talking to each one online about what their loads are going to be in their first year in math. We also look forward to meeting our new faculty. Another first for us was, well, of course, for everyone else, was recruiting, interviewing, conducting the application and selection process completely online. This is now how we do things. This is the executive council, some of them. This is how we meet. This is how we decide. And we take note of the silver lining of increased attendance. This is the Institute meeting. We see more than 70 attending, and including those from abroad. And this is also how we have been doing our proposals and defenses. We look forward to attending conferences, no, like the SEAMS, AMC, MSP, ICM, all of these pictures that you saw before. We look forward also to, again, holding conferences on site. No? Tayo mismo mag-host. As seen from the presentations of Drs. Lope, Balmaceda, and Roque, we have been regularly organizing these SIM, SIMPA, and all. So since 2018, we have been supporting the annual IWOM, the International Workshop on Mathematical Biology. And in August last year, despite a typhoon, no, nagkaroon ng typhoon scare ang WOW, Workshop on Approximation to Optimization, pero natuloy. And then just early this year naman, nalusutan ng SIMPA 2020 on numeration and fractals ang what volcano was it? Taal, no? Ang Taal eruption, nalusutan ng SIMPA. Okay? What would have been also done this year was a workshop on differential equations and related topics. Si Ernie ang in charge niyan. And then Gino would have held the SEAM School 2020 on modern trends in signal and data processing. No? What could have been a workshop sana also 2 weeks ago became a webinar for the 60th birthday of Dean Joey. Okay? Pwede pa rin naman siguro itong matuloy if they will decide to make them e-workshops or e-conferences like the recently concluded Society for Math Biology Annual Assembly. And I had to put that in there because one of our graduate students, an advisee of Dr. Ren Mendoza, was awarded one of the SMB poster prizes. Okay? So our faculty have really been very active in research and collaboration and dissemination with experts here and abroad. You could also see this in our roster of visiting professors, resource people for thesis and dissertation panels, no? Not just locally, all over the world. And in UP mismo, we collaborate with our colleagues in the college, like physics, biology. Outside of science, there's BA, Comp Sci, engineering, statistics. Outside of Diliman, UP Manila, there's the College of Public Health. And we have very productive links with UP Baguio, Cebu, Los Baños, Mindanao. We have flourishing links with mathematicians in Europe, Asia, the US, Australia, and I will mark South Africa because Vivi is there in a university and she's co-advising a student right now with us. So these are linkages and practices which we hope to continue with the same and even increased intensity. Those are what we are missing, but we have also been creating new traditions. Last year, we had the first recognition program for our graduates. This is a batch of Jamie Lim, and that's Jamie delivering the valedictory. There were a group of 6 summa cum laudes from the Institute, and we are happy to have 3 of them as our full-time faculty members. There's Erica, Seth, and Jeriel. For this year, the graduates of IMath did not have an institute program, but the college held a very beautiful virtual recognition ceremony. We welcomed our first senior high school intern last December. Academic groups are supposed to be preparing programs, respective programs and activities for senior high school interns in the future. We participated for the first time in the celebration of the International Day of Mathematics. It is held every year on March 14, Pi Day. Thanks to the initiative of Dean Joey and to the efforts of Jerome, Dr. Dimabayaw, and Louis, Dr. Vallejo, and our undergrads. Their efforts for a whole day of activities, should have been March, no? Had to be rechanneled, but we still had a fun and very happy submission to the IMU, as you can see from the collage. Also, we have made our IMath Sports Fest a December tradition. Those are the 2018 pictures. Here are the 2019 pictures. And let's see, kaya natin mag 2020 na Sports Fest. We remind ourselves that healthy minds should be accompanied by healthy bodies and camaraderie. So to further push health and reduce the use of our automobiles for a cleaner campus and so on, the Institute procured bikes. Anyone of the faculty and staff may use them to move around campus, going from one building to another on errands, maybe or for meetings. And then outside office hours, you can feel free and use them for outdoor recreation. And by the way, beginning tomorrow, I think CS is going to open up its grounds for residents who would want to do some stress relieving activities in the complex. Okay. But we just look forward very much to going back outdoors, which brings me to mention as well our extension plans. True to our vision to be a regional center of excellence, we hope that soon enough we can become a national institute. We want to be, let's see, no? There, okay. True to our vision to be a regional center of excellence, production, transmission, and application of knowledge in mathematics, and that our members shall be active and highly regarded participants in the global community of mathematicians and math educators. I have been emphasizing the Institute's third function. Note again that our mission here reads, IMath shall pursue outstanding research, provide high-quality instruction in pure and applied math, and offer extension services in support of scientific and technological development. I think I can confidently claim that we have been doing well ever since in the teaching department, for our teaching function, and that we have made great headway in research, and we have the manpower to keep up our good momentum. Okay? So when I took on the directorship, I declared that we should push for more extension work, extension activities. As a recognized leading institution in the country for our discipline, we should make our presence felt more concretely. There have been many recent changes in the basic and higher education scenarios, like K-12 and the development and launch of new curricula. We have been involved in many workshops, training programs for senior high educators, how to teach pre-calculus, how to teach calculus. And at the tertiary level, we have been also assisting in the training of how to teach GE math. For some years now, we have been donating calculus modules to math departments in several regions. This is also a follow-through on the calculus training workshop, which was mentioned by Dr. Roque, which Dean Joey was able to get IMU funding for. This was in 2016, but we are continuing to assist these regions. In 2018, we were in Tawi-Tawi with Bongao DepEd. In 2019, some of us went to Partido State University in Kamsur for a research workshop, research training workshop. I think this is the first of its kind for us. We would have been doing continuations of these, part two maybe, bringing the templates even to other regions, other places, had the pandemic not happened. But let it not be said that the pandemic is going to stop our extension activities. Maybe it's just going to make us reformat them. The pandemic brought another change and therefore another opportunity where the university and the institute can lead and serve by leading, lead by serving in the creation of online materials. Look at all these materials. This must be familiar to everyone in the Institute. Those from the Institute who are in the audience, you might be grimacing right now. Oh, lahat yan, ini-email ni ma'am every day. Not just me, maybe the college, OVCAA, OVPAA, and then we get bits from counseling and guidance, from education and so on. It has really been overwhelming. Uh, We are all in the middle of constructing what we call our course packs. We need a course pack for each and every class. These course packs will contain the redesigned syllabi, the online materials, all the references, the reading lists, all the activities, all the arrangements that you have to make with the students, how you're going to meet, how you're going to make submissions, all the adjusted requirements, adjusted assessments, huh, for the successful conduct of a 14-week semester. No, again, so much to do, so little time, not to pressure you, malayo pa yung deadline, Monday. Okay. But anyway, the materials which we have produced also for the latter part of the second semester, no, from March to May, have been uploaded to the IMath or on the IMath YouTube channel. They may be freely accessed there, and we just request everyone who's going to use it to credit IMath as the owner. And the same will hold for all materials. We have submitted already to CHED. Maybe we are still going to submit materials to CHED when they called for references, resources that can be shared with teaching departments nationwide when suddenly classes had to go on remote mode. Okay. Fortunately, last year we were sort of already primed for this. We were thinking of students, but then also we had to think of ourselves, and the college made arrangements for the institutes to all have psych serve orientations. So for me, riding on the platform of wanting to do more extension, what would have been a caravan of sorts outside the institute had to pause. It had to change. The pandemic made us go back home. No? From planning all the time, I keep saying, look for an LGU, look for an institute that we can help, and we will go to them. It made us go back home. No? Reconfigure before going out again. That's why my title earlier, I wasn't able to explain it, was Inside Out. We had to go back inside. No? The pandemic pushed us inside. And staying inside is not so bad, no? Because we had to check as well. We had to go back. The things that we were bringing out on our extension activities, were they still relevant? Were they still attuned to the times? We had to align our frame of mind. We had to adjust our materials with the extraordinary circumstances of the present, such as we have a shortened semester, we have reduced contact, we have asynchronous meetings, we have to adjust everything. So we have to get a good grasp of all these first before we can confidently go out again and help our audiences outside. Okay. So finally, let me just very quickly share plans for our physical home, the math building. Okay. If you look very closely, I couldn't see. Can you see the tarpaulin in the lobby? The tarpaulin still says, congratulations, Chancellor Fidel Nemenzo, because that was one of the last activities we had, an institute meeting where we congratulated Chancellor Nemenzo. Okay. That was the first week of March, and the Chancellor was really greeted by the pandemic. And yan, nandyan pa yung aming tarpaulin for him. Okay. Now, no worries, we will be returning soon enough. Okay, to the building. And when we return, of course, we must make sure it's conducive for the cheerful, smooth, and productive functioning of its residents. So we have in the works a lot of improvements. Some of the yung pinakita ni Dean Joey na bubuin pa lang na infrastructure ngayon in need of repair na ng konti. So lahat yan, no? From top to bottom, roofing all the way down, inside and out. No? But let me just dwell on the outside. So para align pa rin sa palabas. No? Outside, here in front, no? Although it won't really be visible because we don't want to destroy the facade, we will be constructing an access ramp. Okay? And then doon naman sa ating palibot, binanggit na ni Dr. Roque, there. I hope you can see it clearly. There is a Königsberg garden, no, or a park. That's how Dr. Roque called it. And there are the pathways. You can see the bridges, only 6 yet are visible. The rightmost, the one in front, is not so visible. Here you can see some undergrads having fun in the Königsberg area. Maybe they're giving the bridge problem a go, really finding out if the answer is negative. Okay. So we will be landscaping this, as Dr. Roque said. Hindi nangyari nung time niya. She started it during her time. I hope it happens. Di ko alam kung kaya pa pagbalik natin from the pandemic. I hope it still happens I could see it in my term coming. And I would have wanted to launch also with an alumni day a project of facelifting the walkways, because with many students coming in, more and more students, we're getting more and more traffic, students walking in between the buildings of the complex. And I thought maybe we should make these more attractive, no? So that when they cross these paths, they'll say, oh, ang ganda, this is the IMath walkway, this is the Königsberg Garden, and it would be much more conducive, no, for everyone who's going to walk those ways. Okay? And we will be giving that walkway we will try our best to give it a distinctly math flavor, so abangan. Okay? However, for now, we have been forced to stay indoors. No problem. We look at the silver linings. We do what we can while we appreciate this time to really stay inside and just look both inwards and outwards. Inwards so that afterwards we will be able to go out again prepared, no? With the best that we have, with the best that we can come up with, just like before going out, just like looking intently, studying theory intently before we can go out and apply it well. In the process, we tap and affirm our strengths. We find solutions. We add reinforcements where we think we have weaknesses. And in the process, be resilient, resourceful, and compassionate. This is the call of our time, and we respond with conviction. This is the Institute in 2020, and as we turn 13, we look forward to what will happen in the coming years. Happy 13th birthday to the Institute, and happy 110th to the Department of Mathematics. Thank you for listening. Gina, back to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Ma'am Kayan. Yeah, at least despite this pandemic, we are able to look forward. And as we look forward, it's always nice to think about where we have been and where we are. So thank you very much to Ma'am Kayan, Ma'am Marian, Sir Joey, Sir Ernie, for speaking and for sharing your perspectives on your times as the heads of the Institute. So now, are there questions from the audience? Any questions anyone would like to share? Okay, so yeah, so thank you for staying. Thank you everyone for staying. And yeah, kahit nasa pandemic tayo, at least kahit paano na nagugulitan natin ang birthday ni IMath at ang 110th year ng establishment ng department. Okay, so for the next webinar, which will be in 2 weeks, that is September 7, we will be having 2 academic talks that day. One from the differential equations academic group, and the other from the modeling and applications academic group of the Institute. So sa mga susunod po doon, meron pa rin po tayong so every 2 weeks po, magkakaroon tayo ng academic webinar. So tuloy po tayo, no, kahit meron tayong pandemic. Okay, questions, comments? All right, so again, I would like to thank everyone, the speakers, the audience, and see you in 2 weeks for the next academic talk, Goodbye and have a good afternoon.
Salamat, Gino.
Thank you,
Thank
Gino.
you, everyone.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Ma'am Polly.
Salamat
Thank
sa
you.
lahat.
Thank you po sa lahat.
Salamat, Gino.
Salamat, Chancy.
Thank you, Sir
Salamat.
Fidel, for being here as well. Sir Joma, ingat kayo. Yes, Ate Gay, we miss you as well.
Oo.
Ito, Ma'am Isa.
At this time, we should have been going to the free merienda afterwards.
Ay, yun Ma'am eh. Yun sa mga nakakamiss eh, mga pakain eh, nawala na eh. Walang pag-grab. So, see you again September 7. Okay, so I will end the webinar now.
Nanonood ako habang nagdadrive.
Sir, mag-ingat po kayo ha.
Ingat, Jom.
Goodbye.